Developed by Jai Lee and published by Digital Tribe, Shaolin vs. Wutang vs. the World was released on PC in 2016 and on Xbox One May 2020. This game is a love letter to action stars and movies between the 70s and the 90s. In order for you to have the same or even a close level of appreciation for this release as I do, you have to be one of two persons, or both. You, by necessity, must have a great love and appreciation for old martial arts movies, or a genuine love for martial arts. Because even if you're not interested in video games, if you're at least one of the aforementioned, this game will spark your curiosity. I'm all three. I'm a black belt who studied several martial arts styles since 1989 to present day, and although not anymore, I used to be hooked on martial arts movies. I've seen Kickboxer and Bloodsport more times than I can keep track, and of course, I'm into video games. Wutang. I've been waiting since the early 90s for a game like this. A game that has almost all of the action stars from the 90s. I consider myself lucky to have stumbled onto this. This game has been around for 4 years and I've never heard of it. Let me break this down for you. Shaolin vs. Wutang is a fighting game where you duke it out as various action movie icons, Expendable style. None of the characters carry the name of their movie star counterparts, but it is as clear as day what's going on here. We have Jet Li, Jackie Chan, the IP man, that crazy son of a bitch from Kill Bill. Van Damme is here in all his glory. There's the great Bolo Yang, and I'm almost certain this guy is Michael Kissy, aka Tong Po from Kickboxer. We have here a huge lineup for an indie game. I think it's like 30 characters to choose from. I have to say though, if you're paying homage to these back in the days martial arts stars, we should really have a bit more diversity. First up, more females. How can this be developed without Cynthia Rothrock? And the black community could also use a bit more love. Throw in a Billy Blanks and Wesley Snipes. There are a few names, at least two I'm glad didn't make it to the cut however. But I'd really love to have seen maybe Jeff Speakman representing the Kempo style. But hey, Mr. Van Varenberg is here. So, I can't within reason complain. Their fighting styles replace their names. Kinda odd, but fine under the circumstances. The visuals. This game is absolutely beautiful in its own indie kind of way. It's clear to see it's a bit rough around the edges. This is particularly noticeable with fabrics. You can see some inconsistencies with the characters who wear long clothing, shirts blowing in the wind and so on. Other than that, the game looks great. The characters are designed with incredible detail. The devs certainly paid attention to every little detail. I'm going to go ahead and assume, this being an indie game and all, there was a finite budget, so the devs couldn't get the permission from, let's say, Chuck Norris and the rest to use their likenesses. So just looking at the faces, I get the feeling that the characters were purposely drawn to not look identical. But you can tell by the hair, the fighting styles, the stances, the signature moves, that a lot of care and time was put into these designs. To be able to execute Van Damme's helicopter kick in game is something I've been wanting to do for decades. Over the years, I've had to settle for Killer Instinct's Jago. But this here, this is the real deal from the man himself. The backgrounds are also amazing. I'd love to have seen again a bit more diversity. Most of the stages seem to be in China, and that's fine. They still look great. But give me at least one stage in Africa. You're also presented with a fair amount of graphics options. Not as much as a true PC zealot would want, but what's here works. You can do a bit of tweaking to suit your style. There's even a movie mode and the option to go without a HUD. Adds to what little immersion could possibly be in a fighting game. The sound also received the same level of TLC as the visuals. From the 70s music to the announcer to the combat sounds. Takes me right back to the days when martial arts movies were king. None of the fighters say much, some nothing at all. I look at this as I do the visuals. I think since these actors are being used unofficially, the voices wouldn't work for me. To hear a fake Chuck Norris or Van Damme would have compromised the experience. However, for people like Tong Po and Jan Lee, if they had said some one-liners at the beginning or end of a fight, like, "You bleed like my Lee," or "Bricks don't hit back," would have been golden. But I get it. Shaolin vs. Wutang basically has no story. If you play the arcade mode, you'll get a little something.
Congratulations.
I particularly like the way characters respond to certain other characters. When Jackie Chan beats the original old drunken master, he acknowledges him as his teacher and so on. When Van Damme meets Bruce Lee, he says something like, "We finally meet." I don't like the body of text that pops up instead of actual voices though. Main reason, it looks out of place. Like no effort was put into that. Like an afterthought.
Round 1. Fight.
Gameplay wise, Shaolin vs. Wutang totally works. It has an easy pick up and play vibe. Nothing as complicated as an MK or Street Fighter. There's one set of moves basically that works for every fighter. You do a Hadouken-like motion and you'll execute Van Damme's helicopter kick. But do the same with another fighter, you get something different. Same motion, different technique. One might say, well, isn't that the same with just about every fighting game out? Well, when I say one set of moves, I mean it. There aren't any charge characters, wrestling Zangief style characters, and then your Shoryuken characters. No, it's the same button combinations for every fighter. I particularly like the way the blocks were handled. Much like Street Fighter, you pull back. But when you pull back, you not only block, but evade. And it looks so good. The modes available are Arcade, Versus, Training, Survival, Team Mode, and Tournament. None of these modes are particularly exciting or exceptional though. If the devs added a bit more substance to these modes, then we'd have a party. The team mode would have been ideal as a tag battle mode, and basically all the modes could have been more satisfying, for lack of a better word. You know, spruce up the endings. The fact that the game kinda falls flat with no story, no voice acting, a bit more substantial ending would have been good for each character. The only negatives here, however, are a few things. I can totally get over the visual imperfections, as although this is no Mortal Kombat 11, it still impresses me, but the loading times, they can get a bit lengthy, and like I said, we have some really talented female martial artists in film. Cynthia Rothrock was missed, and of course a few more black fighters. The authenticity is what's carrying this title. The attention paid to detail, not just in the characters, but martial arts on a whole. All the moves look so authentic. Now, I've only studied 4 different martial arts forms in my life, so I'm no expert on what every single one should look like. But all of these styles look spot on. And there isn't one single technique I've seen here that couldn't be executed in real life. Just real martial arts by some real martial artists. Shaolin vs. Wutang is on my list of games of the year, and contender for one of the best fighting games I've ever played. It's the well-executed nostalgia that's got me. I will be checking out part 2 in a bit.
Perfect.
You know, AAA games are all well and good, but many times, if you'd like a truly unique experience, one off the beaten path, then the indie scene is where you want to be. Show your support for independent game developers. Most if not all indie games are priced relatively low, including this one. Some are even free with the option to donate, so there's really no reason to pass. Thank you for watching. Should you like my content, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If I pissed you off for some reason, then we all know where to find the various hate buttons, don't we? Either way, I won't hold it against you. Our game is never over.
Player 1.